Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense. Me and John, we're going to talk to you guys about the wonderful world of professional wrestling. And this month, we're going to be talking about All Elite Wrestling because we've been doing this podcast for a while now. And we haven't really had a good chance to talk about All Elite Wrestling too much. They were doing like the one-off pay-per-views, I think, around the time we started. Maybe we started before, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, that wasn't really a whole lot to talk about. They started their television show, Dynamite, in October, I think, of 2019.
That's correct.
And so we thought, let's give it a couple of months, watch the product, let's see it, if it delivers on all fronts that it promised, or let's see if there is stuff that doesn't make any sense. And if there is stuff that doesn't make any sense, we should talk about it because that's the name of the game, even though it's not really a game. It's a podcast. But you get the drift. Anyway, so we're going to talk about All Elite Wrestling. And it's, I don't know, man. Whenever, that's the thing about hype, is that nothing ever delivers. Like, nothing ever matches the hype, right?
Yeah.
And All Elite Wrestling was being billed as this big WWE like alternative, and it was going to be different, and it was going to be pure wrestling, and they were going to do all this stuff and yada yada yada. And we had expressed I don't know what the quite word is, but we were a little bit wary of whether or not they were going to deliver all of these promises, because it did seem very hyped up, and it did seem like they were really like, we're an alternative, yada yada, we're going to do things differently. And I don't know if they have been doing things differently, in my esteemed opinion.
You reckon?
Yeah, I still feel like it's too similar. It's very similar to the WWE. And there's some stuff they don't do that they should, which is what the WWE do. At least, they'll give more talking time to people. And when All Elite Wrestling started, they were very adamant that they weren't going to have a whole lot of backstage chatting and in-ring promos and stuff. They were just going to be more kind of about the wrestling. And I think that as time has went on, that is one of those things that they realized doesn't help the product. Like, you need people to talk and cut promos and cut backstage things and come out to the ring and talk, because that's the hype. That's how you get people interested in the matches, and that's also how you get people over and invested into the characters.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I don't think they did a whole lot of that. Like, really, people didn't really talk other than like Jericho or Cody Rhodes. Right at the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of talking. And now, there is more kind of backstage things or little pieces to camera or, in-ring promos, which is good. That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
But that, again, that's just one of the things that they were like, we're not going to do this, or we're going to, focus on in-ring stuff. And, it's good to say it, but then practically you realize that you need to develop these characters more than just having them in matches, because then why would people want to watch the matches?
Yeah.
I think trick.
That was the big problem with them to begin with, is there was like this assumption that everyone kind of knew all these characters to begin with as well. So obviously they've been doing like their own, YouTube series, being the Elite for so long, and they've had all their friends kind of appear on that and build up little storylines and whatnot, which, helped build up the brand, if you like, of, Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, and just sort of helped bring about AEW in a way, because that's what put them on the map, really. So yeah, there's like all this expectation that, if people are fans of being the Elite, then they make up like the audience of AEW, and then you don't need to do all this introducing of like all these other characters and whatnot. But half the roster is, they're kind of brand new to national or even international TV. Like, a lot of them haven't been in WWE or NXT or whatever. So you need to introduce those guys to the audience and just put them out there, and otherwise it's just going to be a case of, like you say, like you're just watching matches which are technically good, but if you're not invested in them, well, what's the point?
Exactly. Like that's the point of professional wrestling, is to get you invested in the matches and to watch it. And like, have you ever watched an episode of Being the Elite?
I think I may have watched one about like 3 years ago.
Right. I feel like I'm the same. I feel like I'm sure I've watched one at some point, but it's not been this year or last year. Whenever they need people to watch for the show, it's been like way before that. And I only watched one, so I don't um so that's tricky whenever they have that expectation as well, where like they not only assume that people know them from their internet show, the Being the Elite show, but they also assume that people know, like you said, like they assume that people know these characters already, which is a big assumption, because even people who watched wrestling in the Attitude Era would know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't necessarily know who Crash Holly was. And it's through TV shenanigans that you do learn who Crash Holly is, stuff like that. And I think that one problem All Elite Wrestling had, which I think it's a real problem, is that they've gone under the assumption that everybody knows who Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are. Wrestling fan, a lot of people who watch that show are gonna know who Chris Jericho is.
Yeah.
Fact. And a lot of people are gonna know who Cody Rhodes is, because, like you said, he had that mainstream exposure in WWE for a long time. And same with John Moxley. These guys are names. The Young Bucks were in TNA for like 6 months, whatever, a year, in 2011, I think, or
no, I think they
was
were
it before that?
It was before that. Yeah, they were there for a good 2 years, I think, but
Were they?
they hardly did anything with them, so it's sort of a waste of time.
Right, but like these guys have made a big name on the independent scene, and they went to Japan and things like this. But they're not well known to, like, casual fans or anything like that. If you were to watch the show, for example, you wouldn't know the difference between the Young Bucks and any of the other tag teams. You wouldn't go, those are the guys, because you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And the same with Kenny Omega. He's done really well in Japan and like on the independents and stuff, but he's never really had like that big mainstream exposure over here in the West. So a lot of people haven't really seen his stuff. You have to just like go out of your way to go and find a live stream or a YouTube video of like stuff from Japan, and a lot of people aren't doing that. So I think one of the problems they had was when they had these guys who, like, in a way are like the figurehead of the company, because they're names in wrestling, if you will. But they were kind of going in there with the assumption that they were like a name like Stone Cold or Chris Jericho, which is weird, because the way that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have kind of been booked, maybe less so Kenny Omega now that he's like a tag team champion, but pretty much at the beginning, if you only heard the names Young Bucks or Kenny Omega, and you hadn't had a chance, to see them, doing their thing and actually wrestling, but you've heard, other, say you were a casual fan and you heard some more hardcore fans talking about the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. I mean, Kenny Omega I've heard him being called the best wrestler in the world by plenty of people. So if you're a casual fan, you would think, okay, I've heard the names, the Young Bucks, I've heard Kenny Omega, let's see what they're about. And when you watch the show, you wouldn't know that they're big deals, because of the weird way that they've been booked. They haven't been booked like big deals, which is bizarre, because you should be booking them as big deals, because now this is the time for people who are intrigued about who these people are, and they tune in to see who they are. Now is the time to hook them in and get them interested, and show them that these guys are supposedly the best in the world.
Yeah, but do you think that there was a kind of issue there that maybe if they had like booked themselves to look really strong early on, then it runs the risk of AEW just looking like a vanity project just to kind of put them over and boost their own ego or whatever?
Well, you see, that's exactly the problem they've got into, because if they do that, then they are criticized for, having the book just to put themselves over. But if they don't do that, then they're gonna, if they start putting other people over, which they have done, like in their heads, they're doing them a favor because the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, possibly the best in the world. That's what people say. But if they're putting people over, in order to give them a rub, to make them look good because they beat Kenny Omega, the best wrestler in the world. But if half the audience doesn't know that Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world, they don't see what the big deal is. Do you see where I'm coming from? So like, it seems strange for them to be putting other people over in order to give them a rub, but the rub doesn't work because nobody knows that they're big deals. You know what I mean? Whenever somebody beats Jon Moxley or Chris Jericho or Cody Rhodes now, it's a big deal because of the way they've been booked. They've been booked to look pretty good, especially Chris Jericho. Like whoever beats Chris Jericho is gonna look like a king. That's the idea. And like Jericho's tight with these guys. It's not like anybody thought Jericho was, having creative control to make him the champion and yada yada. They did it because that makes the most sense. Jericho's a great heel. He's a well-known face. He can bring attention to the product. And if you book him right, which they have, then whoever beats him is going to look great. Whereas now, if you have a guy that beats Kenny Omega, like, who cares? Because half the roster would beat Kenny Omega by now,
Yeah.
You don't have to give him titles for that to work because, again, Cody Rhodes, one of the most important people in that company, has been booked really well. Hasn't had title opportunities or anything like that, but still looks great. Still looks like a star. You know what I mean? Nobody's saying that Cody Rhodes is using his advantage as a booker to give himself good spots. He's doing it smart. It's well booked. And you could easily have the Young Bucks as the cornerstone of that tag team division, and then figure out how to work the rest of the division around them. And it seemed with Kenny Omega, if they ever had like a mid card, I don't want to say mid card title, that doesn't sound right, but like if they booked him the way that like Moxley's been booked, and put some oomph behind it and really made it into something, then Kenny Omega would look like a big deal. Then when somebody beats Kenny Omega, that's going to be a big deal. So that's been a big sticking point for me.
Right.
Hopefully I explained it correctly.
No, I get what you're saying. And like I would say like with Kenny Omega, the last kind of month or two, with the whole Hangman Page stuff and becoming like this kind of tag team that isn't really on the same page, but they've still managed to capture the titles, and there's all this tension within the ranks and stuff. I think that whole storyline has actually worked a lot for me. It's kind of, it got me more invested in Kenny Omega. It certainly got me more invested in Hangman Page, who I had never seen before AEW, and didn't really care about like in his first few appearances, like when he was the first challenger, or when he was in the first title match at least with Jericho. Like I didn't give a damn about Hangman Page, but this whole storyline has actually helped bring about some personality and help get him over as well. Like he's it seems like, to me at least, he's one of the most popular guys on the roster at the moment with the whole cowboy shit and stuff like that. But at the same time, you can look at it and say we're 4 or 5 months in now with AEW. This is like the second set of tag team champions, and they've already kind of gone to the whole, partners who don't really get on storyline.
Right, instead of like the 7 or 8 other tag teams that they have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are like established, well put together tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do have like good tag teams on their show.
Absolutely. They've got a hell of a tag team division.
Yeah, they do. And again, one of the things that was being trumpeted quite loudly by All Elite Wrestling before they really started about their company was going to be how good their tag team division was going to be. I remember this. They were like, we're going to make tag team wrestling important again. And like that was one of those big old like, you know, and that funny enough was one of those things that I thought they were going to deliver on. I
Mm.
thought, all right, that's achievable. It can't be that hard to do a better job of booking tag teams than the WWE have been doing because, it's up and down and all over the place. And, sometimes it's great and sometimes it's, not so good,
Yeah.
to put it lightly. And I don't know where to start with the All Elite Wrestling's tag division.
Mm.
And with regards to the tag teams, they're great. Like, what do you call Kazarian and Scorpio Sky?
SCU.
Yeah, they're really. Well, we know those guys are good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that and the old LAX. Who were they?
Oh,
Santana and
Santana.
Ortiz.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like them.
Yeah, same.
I really like them. You've got the what do you call Pentagon Junior and what's his name?
Uh,
Ray Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix, the Lucha Bros.
Lucha Brothers. I was like, it's Lucha something. But then they've also got the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, the
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Express. I'll be honest with you, I'm on the fence about that. I mean, I like Jungle Boy, and I do like Luchasaurus, but I just haven't seen a whole lot of them as a tag teaming group,
Mm-hmm.
But like the point is, they have some really good tag teams there.
Yeah, that's not
They
even
do.
including the likes of, like Jack Evans and Helico, who are
Mm.
really good, who've not really been given a shot yet. You got like the best friends as well, who have had some good matches so far. There's a hell of a tag team lineup.
I was watching the show the other day, and I saw Jack Evans and Angelico come out, and I didn't know they were on the show. Like I didn't know they were on the roster.
Yeah, they've not really appeared much on Dynamite. I think they've like had a few matches on was it AEW Dark or something? The like internet only show.
Mm. But like, wouldn't you put them on your show?
Well,
I I
it's
would
all
fucking put
about
them on my show.
yeah. There's so many spots that you can squeeze in really, and
Right. But you think about how many times the best friends have been on TV.
yeah.
You couldn't take one of those matches out and put Jack Evans and Angelico in there. I
But
mean,
you say that, but I pretty sure I heard that like the best friends did pretty well in the ratings, like especially Orange Cassidy. Like he always helps pop the ratings whenever he's on. So maybe that's that's as cynical as it is. That's the reason why that they get used more than Jack Evans and Helico.
well, it's not fair because Jack Evans and Angelico haven't had a chance to like walk around and doing shin kicks with their hands in their pockets yet. They haven't had a chance. I mean, that's an interesting one, Orange Cassidy.
Mm,
Like it's a fun little gimmick, but like where does it go from there? I can
yeah.
see how it works perfectly as a manager. I've never seen him like actually wrestle, so I don't know how that would work. But anyway,
Mm.
that at the moment it does work, so let's not criticize it too much. I'm on board with that. But I'm like, the whole tag team division is really like very strange and it's a little messed up and it doesn't seem to have any direction either.
Mm.
And the first title change that happened in All Elite Wrestling was, as you said, the tag team championships from SCU to Hangman Page and Kenny Omega,
Mm-hmm.
which was weird because up until that point, while they were in a group together, they were in the Elite essentially. Up until that point, both men had made it pretty clear that they were in like the singles division. They weren't a
Yeah.
tag team. And throw two guys together, and then they're despite the fact that we've already established they have plenty of really good tag teams, that's the title change they go to so quickly into their run. And like, I understand that there's a storyline playing out and they're using the tag belts in part of that storyline. That all makes sense. And like you said, that storyline's done a very good job of getting both Kenny Omega and Hangman Page over, because I think people are more invested in both of those guys now. Especially Kenny Omega, because now it gives like more focus to him. Now something's going to happen.
Yeah.
With that whole thing, and you didn't get that with the first couple of months with Kenny Omega. He was just kind of there, and I don't know. What I think is strange is that at the same time they're running that angle, they also seem to be running an angle with Omega and Pac.
Yes.
Which means that they're still clearly focusing on Kenny Omega as a singles wrestler while he is a tag team champion.
I guess it's more a case of unfinished business with Pac, though, because that was like a series of matches they were having, prior to this whole tag team run with Hangman Page. So this is more just kind of wrapping that up, and I can almost see maybe, that kind of feeding into whatever's next in the Omega and Hangman Page story as well. So I guess it's weird that they're kind of doing both simultaneously, but I'm sure there is a method to the madness there.
Well, I wouldn't use the word sure.
Yeah.
There could be. They might wrap it up, but again, just looking at it, you're like, why is Kenny Omega in a tag team and also fighting this one guy? Because Pac's not going to find a tag team partner to go and fight those two guys.
No.
Pac's not a tag team guy.
He's a lone wolf if ever there was one.
Exactly, and that gimmick works really well for him. So stick with that. So yeah, but then that would imply that like Pac might be involved in the whole costing those two guys the tag titles. But then that doesn't seem to be the way the storyline's going. I would imagine the storyline seems to be that Hangman Page isn't sure if he wants to be in the Elite and is still quite distant from those guys, and also drinks a lot on the job. Which I don't think is a good angle. I mean, it didn't work in WCW. I don't think it's going to work here. I don't like that. But
hey, it worked for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And it worked for the Sandman.
Yeah.
Who probably legitimately was drunk. A lot of the time. But like, I don't know. What was I saying? Oh, right. To me, it seems like the break in that is going to be Hangman Page related.
What, you mean him turning heel on Omega?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's set up for that for sure.
Right, and I don't see how Pac would fit into that. I feel like these are two different like storylines running in tandem. Which I think is strange. But each to his own. The point of it is really that I'm not swayed by their tag team division, despite it being very strong. I think that the way it's been played out and the way it's been booked, I have not really been digging it. And also, as I've told you plenty of times before, and I've probably said on the show before, I am not a big fan of the Young Bucks at all. I do quite like Kenny Omega. I mean, I've probably slagged him off a little bit, but I think he's a good wrestler, and he's quite theatrical, which some people don't like, but I think works well in wrestling.
Yeah.
He's very good at that. He's fun. But I don't like the way the Young Bucks put like their matches together. I just don't like watching the Young Bucks wrestle. I don't like it when other people try to like out the Young Bucks, if you know what I mean. Because then spots to start getting silly. Like, what was it I watched? It was those Lucha Brothers.
Yeah.
All right, them versus the Young Bucks, and I'm like, it just got silly. It was just really silly, and not in a good way.
They do bring a certain spectacle to their matches because it isn't, like you say, the psychology isn't your traditional like wrestling psychology at all. It's all kind of just balls to the wall, like not much selling, and then just yeah, kind of crazy spots in there that you wouldn't really expect to see in a genuine like fight, let alone a wrestling tag team match. It's almost like watching a video game in a
Right,
way.
right. But I don't know if I like that too much. And like,
Mm,
there's parts that in the matches that aren't natural. Like
yeah.
they're set up for a spot, but you're like, well, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't stand there. You wouldn't wait there for 20 seconds. You wouldn't do this stuff if it was a real fight. And we all know, obviously, wrestling isn't a real fight. But like, to just like throw the entire illusion out the window, I don't really dig. Um, yeah, there was something else I was gonna say about it as well, but I can't remember. Oh, I'm in a real forgetful mood today. That's a shit. That's lucky for all elite wrestling. I'm gonna forget half the stuff I want to talk about. But I just don't like the way the Young Bucks kind of put matches together. And oh, I remember what it was. Um, and this is a real like bugbear for me, which I have definitely talked about in the show before. Is like all of these big like high impact moves, like one after the other.
Mm.
There's like no selling, and they don't, and it's only like a near fall in the match that doesn't mean anything. It's always like they'll do like a fucking triple power bomb off a fucking scaffolding thing or whatever. Obviously, this is being exaggerated for comedic effect. But like they'll do like a big move and then they'll do another big move and then the other guy will just pop right back up again and do another big move and then that's only like a near fall and we're only like halfway through the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you can't even really just say that it's just like an AEW thing. Like, I don't know, did you watch the NXT Takeover Portland?
I did, and to be fair, to criticize, um, that is a thing that happens a lot. Well, the near falls and the big spots are a kind of thing that happens a lot in Adam Cole matches
Yes,
and
absolutely.
also Johnny Gargano matches,
Yeah, yeah.
which
But with the Adam Cole one, the whole thing that really was ridiculous was the whole Canadian Destroyer on the floor, and then he throws him back in, and then like Ciampa immediately kind of no sells it and hits his move, well his two moves, and still Adam Cole kicks out. And it's like, really?
yep, exactly. Like I don't like that. It's not so good. Although like for a lot of the rest of that match, it was really good.
Mm,
Like they still paced it out pretty well. Like that's that's definitely a criticism that NXT do a lot. Is that these big long matches with like which I don't mind, but towards the end of it, it does become like move after move, and they don't seem like they've been worn out for having wrestled for 20 minutes.
yeah.
Um, but I think that comes across way more in a Young Bucks match.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fight me on it, but like I would much rather watch a half hour Adam Cole match than you know than any length of time Young Bucks match.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think he does it as much, and I don't know, like that it takes me out of it. I don't want to watch it, you know.
Yeah, that's fair
So
enough.
it's not for everybody. I do know that people like that, and they do, that's why the Young Bucks are popular. People like that kind of thing. I like it in like moderation.
Mm,
If it's paced well, if it makes sense, then you can kind of get away with a couple of those like little spots there. But like if it's the whole match, then there's no pacing to it, and there's no like you said, it's just watching a video game. And the thing about video games a lot of the time is that there's not really a whole lot of stakes. You don't get you don't get the stakes that much.
mm.
You don't feel like it's a big deal. And yeah, so not a big fan of the Young Bucks. Let's put it that way. What do you think about the whole tag team division and the Young Bucks and etc.
Well, I don't hate the Young Bucks as much as you seem to, but
Mm-hmm.
I think you do have a lot of fair criticisms about them and their style of wrestling for sure. Um, but you know, they have had some good matches with a lot of the teams that they've faced so far, and you can't really knock them for that. I mean, the, I guess within in the terms of like AEW's audience as well, they are kind of a big deal anyway. So in terms of like name value, they sort of bring a lot to the tag team division just because the majority of fans watching it, or people who've kind of followed them on the indie scene and or whatever, and that they want to see them. So yeah, they're a valuable act in that kind of sense. But yeah, like the tag team division in general is, like you say, it's just a bit all over the place at the moment. You've got like this story with the champions, like there's not much else going on. There's no real rivalries that have developed or yeah, just general stories really. It's just all a bit too kind of, let's put on a match for the sake of a match, and sure, it'll be most likely a pretty entertaining match, but there's still just no deeper like stories or feuds behind it to kind of make it matter. Like it's just people essentially exchanging wins and losses and going nowhere.
Right. And we all know that the rankings are very important in All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Incredibly important. Can I just say, to be fair, that I think, and it's a close call, but I think I would rather watch a Young Bucks match than a match with The Miz. So, in terms of ranking, I suppose the Young Bucks are just ahead of The Miz. So,
Wow.
yeah. But like, what about this, right? Let me just throw this out here. And I just thought of this like a moment ago. But imagine, SCU were the tag team champions, and then Santana and Ortiz took the belts off them.
Mm-hmm.
So now Chris Jericho's stable looks great because there's only like two belts that the men can go for, the tag team belts and the heavyweight championship. Both are under the control of Chris Jericho
Yeah.
and his group. So Cody like tries to go for the heavyweight championship, but he can't. And then you can have like the Young Bucks go after Santana and Ortiz, but they can't manage to beat them. So then, despite the fact that there may be kind of like apprehension between Hangman Page and the rest of the elite, it turns to Hangman and Omega to kind of team up out of necessity to fight for the tag team championships, and then they have to like learn to work together. Even though Hangman Page wants to leave, he also has the temptation of being a champion,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard to deny. And Kenny Omega wants some gold, but he also wants to keep the elite together, and they both want to beat Santana Ortiz and stick one to Chris Jericho. Therefore, going into a potential match, you've got heat on both sides, and then have Omega and Hangman Page win, and then have them like fall apart after that, because they essentially accomplished what they wanted to do, and then they realize that they don't get on well together, yada yada. Like, what about that?
Yeah, I mean that's it. It kind of makes more sense. There's more kind of progression to the story rather than just going, from what you're suggesting is like A to B to C to D or whatever, whereas what we got was just like A straight to D, and yeah, there's like
Yeah, but like we'll figure it out later. Like,
yeah.
I don't think you should do that, because that's the kind of thing that the WWE gets shit for all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're gonna be critical, you gotta hold All Elite Wrestling to the same kind of like criticism that the WWE get, because and again, I'm not gonna say that they're perfect, because as we've established, but with like 20 episodes of the show, that the WWE are not at all perfect, and deserve some of the criticism they get. But at the same time, All Elite Wrestling is far from perfect too. So like I came up with that Again, I'm not saying that I'm fucking master booker here, but like while you were talking, I came up with that thing. I'm like, well, wouldn't that have worked? And how, it took me fucking 2 minutes to come up with. And it's also like logical. It's like it's old school. It makes sense from a storyline perspective, from a wrestling perspective, from like building up your talent. It all makes sense. Gives Jericho's group a purpose other than just being four boys around Chris Jericho. I don't know. But the tag team division, spotty at best.
Yeah.
The women's division.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. So tag team division has some flaws, but still has some like really good tag teams in it. The women's division though is really weird.
Yeah.
Is really weird. I have one like really big problem with the women's division.
Go for
well,
it.
no,
What
I
is
don't.
it?
I have lots. But like when I started watching All Elite Wrestling, one thing like stuck out to me immediately. I know you might think that it's a very small, insignificant thing. I agree, but it still annoyed the hell out of me. Which was what's the girl who's like Freddie Mercury?
Emi Sakura.
Yeah, I love that. But the thing about that is, number one, she seems like a heel.
Yes.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Why? Like she has so much fun coming out to the ring and she gets the crowd going, and she's a heel. What the fuck? Like it's such a funny gimmick, and she's a heel, right? But the second thing that annoyed me was that her theme music sounds fuck all like Queen. Like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
I know.
And none of that. And I'm like, well, that has annoyed the hell out of me. And she seemed like a good worker. She seemed like a fine wrestler, but like already I was like, I don't care. Riho, I don't really know a whole lot about. She seems okay. She seems like I'm not, from what I've seen of her, she's all right.
Yeah.
But like, would you have picked her as your first champion?
No. Only because Riho and Emi Sakura and like Hikaru Shida and like all these Japanese wrestlers who they kind of brought in, which is, one, it's cool to see all these wrestlers come in and get the shot on the American stage, but there's just been like no introduction to them at all. So they just all came in really cold, and you kind of not really given a reason to care for any of them. Like, so putting the title on Riho straight away was just baffling. It was just like, who is she? Why is she the champion? And yeah, it just kind of set the whole division off on the wrong foot, I think. And it's not really recovered since then.
I agree. Like, we're not slagging off Riho at all, but like,
no,
surely you could have. And I don't want this to sound like xenophobic or anything, but like, surely you could have found a competent female wrestler from the United States who has name value, who people would already have known. You could have put the belt on first. A little bit like Chris Jericho. It didn't have to be as high profile as Chris Jericho. You don't have to put it on like Trish Stratus or anything like that. But like, what was Emma doing?
Yeah.
Was she around? Like, couldn't she have done that? I don't know if she was in Ring of Honor at the time. Maybe she would have left and was in All Elite Wrestling, but like, she would have been a great name for that. Or
even Britt Baker is like, she was the first signing to the women's division, and it was kind of a big deal was made about her when she was signed as well. So
yeah, they could have had these like big name people and could have like led with that, but instead they went with Riho, who nobody at all knows, and didn't really give him a chance to like build that up. And because you could easily have had Riho as like a plucky underdog challenger, gone in for the belt, and that would have got her sympathy, and that would have got her like people behind her, and would have given her a reason to like fight for the belt. But to just introduce her straight off the bat with, like you said, no like introduction at all, and just go, this is your women's champion. You're like, well, thanks, man, but I don't get it. It's the same with like the what we said with the tag belts. If you kind of like get the right champion, or with Chris Jericho, if you get the right champion there first, and then kind of work around it, then you'd be all right. But I feel like they definitely missed a trick there. And the women's belt only really changed hands. Was it last week?
Yeah, it's on the last week's show. Yeah.
I missed that match. I missed like the part of the show, and I caught like the last half, but I missed that match, and I did want to watch it. So I can't really comment on that one too much because I'm not very familiar. Was it Nyla Rose?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not very familiar with her work either, so I would have quite liked to watch that match because I feel like it's a big woman versus a small woman. That's always been a good dynamic in wrestling before. Like Brock Lesnar, Bryan Danielson, or whatever. Not that I'm saying that Riho and Nyla Rose are Brock Lesnar and Bryan Danielson. Those two guys are, they're crazy good, the two of them. But, I'm sure it would have been a good match. So I don't know how good that would have been. But, like, I feel like there should have been some kind of, like, title switch before this or something. If like I said, I feel like Riho should be the one kind of chasing the belt for a while, as opposed to just straight up winning the belt. Yeah, and then like how they try to like figure out who is going to be the next person in line. Like they haven't really like made a clear cut challenger to Riho.
No. Definitely
they haven't
not.
had somebody that they're like, this is definitely going to be the woman who's going to chase after the championship. Face or heel, they haven't really done a good job with that. And so like this title change, it seems a little bit. Does it seem a little bit like out of the blue?
Yeah, well, I guess so, because I think technically speaking, Nyla Rose had been suspended. I don't think she'd had a match for a long time before this one, and then she kind of earned the title shot pretty much just by beating people up and putting them through tables and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a bit out of nowhere, and I don't know. It's just a weird situation because I guess they haven't really done a good job with building up Riho's challenges anyway. Like they kind of really hot shotted the first title shot to Britt Baker and kind of got that out of the way like really quickly, and it did Britt Baker more damage than good. And then it looked like they were starting to build up like Chris Statlander as well, and then she's just seems to have disappeared. And I guess you kind of figured that maybe they were originally setting up for the Nightmare. Is it the Nightmare Collective or whatever they called?
Yeah.
Like Awesome Kong and Mel, whoever Mel is, and
I don't know who that is.
Brandy Rhodes and stuff, and
yeah.
But that whole thing has just kind of shit the bed and fallen apart because no one was enjoying that storyline whatsoever. I bet they weren't even enjoying it. So.
Well, yeah. I did want to talk about that too, because right off the bat, I remember like their first show or whatever, they made it. It's very clear from the first show that like Cody Rhodes, everybody loved him. He was a face he was on the audience side. Everybody digged him. And then they did like this like backstage shot with Brandy Rhodes, and she like cut this big heel promo, and then she had Awesome Kong by her, and I'm like, is that why is Brandy a heel and Cody is a face? I didn't get that, because again, you're going under the assumption that these two guys, I mean, that's in wrestling terms, we all know that the two of them are married, and that Brandy Rhodes has been involved in like booking the or like a backstage role like Kenny Omega and Cody and the Young Bucks, and those three guys are all faces. So why is she a heel? You know, like it didn't make any sense to me. And then they did this whole like angle where like they come out and like cut people's hair off,
Yeah.
which I don't I'm not gonna say that I totally understand it, but I'm like it is a very heelish thing to do, and I think that it kind of worked for Awesome Kong. Um, but it just wasn't playing out right
No.
at all, and no, I didn't like that. I didn't like that very much. Like
And the whole Mel thing as well, with the like picking the fan from the crowd and then getting her to shave her head, is just like, oh, okay, so this is just a rip off of the straight edge society, is it?
yeah,
We're going back to like CM Punk from like 10 years ago.
who's that? Serena Deeb?
Yeah.
Put her in the fucking company.
Yeah.
She was great.
I
I
think
don't
she
know if
works
yeah.
for WWE nowadays, but
Oh, does she?
yeah, I'm pretty sure she's one of the trainers in the performance center.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's good. Oh well, all the rest is lost, I guess. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to stick with all the other fucking guys you have there. So yeah, I did not like that at all. It just it didn't come off right. I didn't understand the point. Um, no, I didn't like that whole Brownie Road stuff.
Mm,
And I get that they've kind of taken her out of it.
yes.
From what I've heard, they've taken Brownie Rhodes out of it and turned her face, which is what they should have done all to begin with. But they haven't really dropped it. I think they're still doing it.
Okay, they haven't really featured Awesome Kong or anything in the last
Well,
couple of weeks.
the Awesome Kong thing, I think, is that she's going off to film Women of Wrestling.
Oh, fair enough.
She's in that, and I think they're doing like a new season of that. So she had to be written off TV for that. And I think Brandy Rhodes got out of it because, God bless her, she's smarter than everybody else, and she's like, nope, you guys can keep this. Like it just wasn't playing out the way she wanted it to,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna leave it to somebody else, which I like, but it's also a little bit like, distancing yourself from something really atrocious,
Mm.
uh, instead of sticking it through, or like. So I would be interested to see if they do kind of drop it, or if they do something with it, because that was another thing that really annoyed me about All Elite Wrestling was the Dark Order.
Yeah.
All right, but first of all, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Second of all, um, they did this big angle where the Dark Order. Well, let me try to like explain this. First of all, the Dark Order came in and they were looking for people to join their cult,
Yes.
and they tried to like offer Christopher Daniels a mask or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to get him into the cult. And he didn't go for it. So it seemed a little bit like they were just trying to get people to join their cult, which is the kind of thing that like people have, that they've done that before in wrestling. It's not, a totally out there thing to do. But then right before the end of 2019, like the Dark Order did this angle where they like beat the fuck out of the Elite.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like, they had strength in numbers. They were going to do something with the Dark Order. And it seemed like that made sense because there was a lot of people in the Dark Order. There's a lot of people in the Elite. It made sense to kind of play those two stables against each other because one was seen as a very, very good, squeaky clean babyface team, and the other one was although they were called the Dark Order and are supposedly heels, nobody really knows what it is that they do that is bad.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why they're heels, they just are. But, they're being played as a very, very bad team. So it's like very good, very bad. It works perfectly. Come the beginning of this year, no mention of that whatsoever. And that annoyed the hell out of me because that's how they had like a 2-week break, which I really liked. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
over Christmas. But like, why leave people on a cliffhanger like that? That seems like it's going to lead to the Elite versus the Dark Order, and to give some meaning to this stupid stable, and then to just no mention of that once they came back on the air 2020. And now the Dark Order, not that I like the stable to begin with, but like all I see is just them walking around trying to give masks to people, and nobody picks up on their offer.
Mm.
So why would they? Like what? first of all, why would anybody want to join the Dark Order? Because they haven't at all. They've done backstage promos and vignettes and stuff that talk about the Dark Order, but they don't tell you what it is, what the benefits are, why you should join it. They don't do any of this shit. And then second of all, every fucking week or every 2 weeks or whatever, this group comes out and is denied. Like, it happens every time. They come out and offer a mask to somebody and the guy says no, and they look like idiots. It just doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know what you think about this, but the Dark Order, to me, is very high up on my list of criticisms for All Elite Wrestling.
So I'm kind of I've got a soft spot for the Dark Order, like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, because I've seen them wrestle live a couple of times, and I like them as wrestlers. But there's no getting away from the fact that when they kind of debuted, it didn't go particularly well. It was like as a fart in church. It was it was not the reaction that they were hoping for, and they've kind of struggled to correct course since then. And I think that some of the vignettes that they've done has been pretty good. I thought the way they've kind of gone about showing what they offer in these kind of abstract ways, where it's all about making a better life for people if they sign themselves over to the Dark Order, that has been done pretty well in my opinion.
Well, let me counter that and say those vignettes, right? They've been like, you should try to turn your life around or whatever. Aside from the vignettes, everything you've seen about the Dark Order on television, why would you want to join that group? Like, it's easy to say your group's the best, but like but in the face of that, if you just go on television every time and just don't do anything or just make it unappealing to want to join, then the vignettes are useless.
No, I get what you're saying, and yeah, there's definitely some truth to that as well, for sure.
But like that's basically that. All I mean by that is just like, why would a wrestler want to join the Dark Order? Because they haven't done anything other than be resignedly rejected by everybody. They haven't really like fought a whole lot or won a lot or lost a lot or whatever. Other than that big thing where they beat up the Elite, I don't really know of any like proper angle they've done or any big like thing they've done. So I don't see what the appeal would be to join their group.
You know why they probably haven't done anything is because they're still waiting for the Exalted One to have his contract run out wherever else he's wrestling, so that he can sign for AEW.
Who on earth could you be referring to?
Oh, I mean, I'm just talking in terms of, vague ideas of potential wrestlers out there who, might be extreme wrestlers, who might like to get broken every now and again, and
they're like lawnmowers.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that. Do you think that is what's going to happen?
I'm not sure. Because originally when like this whole Exalted One was mentioned, I thought, okay, that's going to be Marty Scurll then, because obviously he was going to come to AEW when his Ring of Honor contract ran out. And then they kind of turned around and said, no, we'll give you a shit ton of money and you can book Ring of Honor now. So
why wouldn't you take that?
Yeah. But then I was wondering if maybe it would be Christopher Daniels himself, with all this teasing of, trying to convince him to join them. Like, what if Christopher Daniels is already the Exalted One? Because, back in the day, he was the Fallen Angel and he was kind of a preacher character then. So, and then it's got kind of the whole vibe of, the higher power from back in the day with Vince pulling off the hood and it was me, Austin.
Now, yeah, like that makes sense. I could see how that would work. But now that we've said that makes sense, given what we've already said about All Elite Wrestling that hasn't made sense, do you think that that's going to be the way it goes?
Probably not. I
No.
mean, no.
No. Well, let me tell you this. I saw a promo they did with the man backstage, whatever his name is, the Higher Power or the Exalted One or fucking Creative Control or whoever the fuck it was gonna be, and they have like the Black Scorpion, I don't know, and they have his voice all like digitized or whatever, altered, so you can't hear who it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was just something about that promo and the way the guy was speaking that sounded very familiar to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, you know what? If it is this guy, I don't know if anybody's gonna like it, but it kind of makes sense. And it's to me, it sounded like him, not his voice, but the way he speaks.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded an awful lot like Raven.
Really?
Yeah. And this was just one backstage thing that I heard. I don't think I've heard a whole lot of other ones, but like it was the way the kind of cadence of the way that he would talk sounded like Raven. And then when you think about it, Raven has had plenty of experience in big groups, being the
Mm-hmm.
big leader. He can make people follow him. He can inspire others to do his bidding. In a way, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, he's built a career on being sort of a cult leader.
Yeah. So I tell you what, if it turned out to be Raven, I wouldn't be pissed off at all. I would
No.
still hate the gimmick because it's been shit so far, but I would be okay with Raven being because I love Raven.
Yeah, same.
I adore that guy. And I'm sure we'll do a podcast at some point where we'll talk more about like ECW and stuff like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love Raven. So, and I gotta say, if it was Matt Hardy, I would be less enthused.
Yeah, I think I would be as well.
That whole and maybe this is a similar thing to All Elite Wrestling, but like that whole broken woken Matt Hardy thing to me was like it was good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was definitely fun, and I enjoyed like the imagination of it, and I enjoyed the kind of like it was silly and goofy, and in a way that like wrestling can get away with.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of the time, it went like past that line. Like it was too silly and too goofy, and it lost my interest again.
Yeah.
And I've always been on the fence about the Hardy Boys to begin with, anyway, which is a thing that nobody seems to agree with me on.
No, I've always felt the same.
Oh, this is why you're my podcast partner. Like they were a fine tag team, but separately, it's questionable. And to be fair, separately, Matt Hardy seems to be like the better kind of promo guy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Jeff never been strong with the promos. I think Matt's a better wrestler as well.
Yeah, but Jeff gets all the plaudits because he kind of,
Well, yeah, like Jeff's more entertaining as a wrestler, but I think Matt
yeah.
would be a better wrestler if that makes any sense.
No, no, yeah.
But Jeff gets away with it because he is the prototype for the Young Bucks, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be that like if Matt Hardy went to All Elite Wrestling, I don't think that would be it wouldn't be a game changer to me.
No.
No, no, sir. Um. So yeah, what else would you like to say about All Elite Wrestling? Is there anything else that you off the top of your head
Well, I
is?
mean, we've shit over, their tag division and the women's division, but one thing I will say is I've really enjoyed Chris Jericho as world champion. I
Mm,
think what he's brought to the table has been some of his best work in years, maybe ever. Just because he's like every week he's almost single-handedly the most entertaining part of the show. He's always whatever he's involved in, whether it's a match or if it's a promo or like some sort of angle, like the whole spiking, Moxley's eye and stuff. There's something that he brings to the table, like some star power that no one else does. And he's the perfect guy to kind of build the company around at the moment. Like, even though, yeah, he's pushing 50 or whatever, can't do this forever. He's still at this, at this sort of time in AEW's history, he's far and away the best candidate to kind of lead the way and, set the tone as world champion. So,
Mhm.
yeah, Chris Jericho is doing a hell of a job.
I agree with that. He's definitely the right guy to be the champion. They got that right. And to their credit, like you said, we have spent an hour shitting on them, but they have done some good stuff.
Mm.
And I think everybody can agree that like the Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, MJF stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you see one of those guys on TV, it's usually pretty good.
Mm.
Usually quality. It usually makes sense. And again, it's bizarre that main event is being booked in the same company as the rest of the divisions, because the main event's always really good and it's always quite like old school and it all
Mm.
makes sense. Like the spike in the eye. I mean that's going back some ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's great because it makes sense within the realms of that world. That's the thing I always think of. Like we all know that wrestling's kind of gimmick, but we also know that like the suspension of disbelief works for like a part of it. You can still get into it and feel like you're believing it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And there are parts that will go too far for me, like the Young Bucks, and then it takes you out of it. But I think that like the Cody Rhodes stuff, the Chris Jericho stuff, MJF, and John Moxley as well.
Yeah.
All that stuff has been entertaining and fun because it is still rooted in wrestling, and those guys know how to talk, they know how to build up a match, they know how to deliver on a match. These are
Mm-hmm.
all very, very important things, and they do them really well. So, they're at the top of the card for a reason because they're all great at what they do. I agree that Chris Jericho is definitely the best fit to be their champion and to keep that belt on because he's such a good heel.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful heel. You know, I again, I love Chris Jericho. He's because he's always good.
And he's always reinventing himself as well. He never wants to kind of rest on his laurels and just keep doing what is popular. He'll kind of try different things and try to like evolve and keep it fresh. And not enough kind of top stars have managed to do that over the years. It's always trying to maintain the status quo rather than take it to the next level. So fair play to Chris Jericho. He's essentially made a career out of doing that.
He's very smart, yeah, and he's very good at like you said, reinventing himself and figuring out what he needs to do to keep himself fresh. Because he knows that as a person, as a talker, as a character in himself, he can deliver. He
Mm-hmm.
just needs to find out what the next bit's gonna be. So like in a way, this him with the group is a new angle for Jericho.
Yeah.
He's never really like had a big stable behind him, and especially as like the clear cut like king of the mountain that he is, it makes sense to have this big group of guys behind him, and I think it all works very well. Yeah, but it is, to me, it's mind boggling that part of the show exists, and then the rest of the show exists, and it's the same show, but it feels like a totally different thing. Like what was the episode? It was a couple of weeks back, I guess. Not last week. I think the week before, where MJF was doing the lashes on Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody agrees that shit was really fun to watch.
That was an awesome segment.
It was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The rest of that show, not so good.
Pretty forgettable.
Right. And it's just bizarre to me that they can do that. That they can be so good a part of it and so not good at the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because then why would you watch the rest of it? You just tune in for the end.
But again, I think maybe we're being too harsh on them because it's a hard thing to book like a 2 hour, wrestling show and make it all constantly amazing. There's gonna be a few swings and misses, and it's not all gonna work out as you kind of planned or whatever. But I think you know AEW's done a fairly decent job of kind of like as time's gone by, at least they've done a decent job of kind of getting a better balance, so it's more good in a show than bad, at least as as far as I think, anyway.
Okay. I'm still on the fence about that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like I've said, there's been times I've just been watching and I'm like, why am I watching this? You know?
Mm.
But like you said, they're a new company and they're still working that stuff out. And hopefully, like this is the kind of stuff that they will work out. Like if their tag division continues to be a train wreck, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna keep watching it because the main event can be great, but if the rest of the show isn't great, it's tough watching it. You
Yeah.
know. Um. So I don't know. It's like I said to you before. I'm like I don't see why at this present moment in time, given what we've seen before, like on the evidence we already had, if you had to choose between NXT and All Elite Wrestling, I don't get why people would pick All Elite Wrestling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still think NXT is just the more fun show to watch. It's more consistent.
Yep.
It's more concise. It has better developed characters. To me, that's the level they should be striving for. They should want to be NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they've only really been doing this hardcore since October, so we're only 4 or 5 months in. It's growing pains, of course, with a new company. They're going to make mistakes, and it's how they bounce back from those mistakes and correct them, and how they treat their audience in respect to that is how that company's gonna kind of live or die, I think. Well, I mean that's what I think, but like clearly with the views and the viewership and people sticking with All Elite Wrestling, despite the fact that there's been some real crap on there, is interesting. I find that very interesting. You know what I mean?
So would you say All Elite Wrestling at its worst is better or worse than an average Monday Night Raw?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because
I mean,
I think Raw is still horrendous. So like AEW, for all their mistakes and whatnot, I think it's still a more enjoyable 2 hours than Raw provides.
well, that's maybe true. Like, I don't really watch Raw or SmackDown these days anymore. I
Hmm.
really do just watch NXT and All Elite Wrestling pretty much. And anything else you can get a chance to watch. Oh, here's a good thing. That I'm gonna say on the show. So if you guys want, I don't know if you know about this, but there's I think it's Paramount
Mm-hmm.
on like Freeview have started showing NXT UK.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
So I've started watching that now too because it's on TV. I'm like, well, why not? And that's a good show too. So if you guys want to check that out, oh, and that shit's coming to Dublin.
Yeah, man.
So now I gotta fucking find money for that.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm gonna get any money for any of this, but that would be cool to show. Go down and see. Um, so like really, I don't really watch Raw or SmackDown that much anymore, and I couldn't really tell you which one I prefer because because I don't watch one of them. But I will concede that All Elite Wrestling does have some good stuff on it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I can't deny that it has some really good stuff on it. So it just happens that there is an awful lot of crappy stuff on there too. That's what I'm gonna say. And you could disagree with me all you want, but there it is. Yes, we should wrap things up pretty soon. Is there anything else you want to say? I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff we could probably say about All Elite Wrestling, but I think we've hit a lot of the main points, have we?
I reckon so, yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to overall say about the show?
Um, well, just like I said, like I think it is getting better, and it does feel like they've got more of a grip on what they want to do with the show now than they did, 4 or 5 months ago. So hopefully, in like another 4 or 5 months' time, we'll see like even more progression, and it'll be, hitting the heights, the heady heights that we want it to be hitting. So, yeah, I'm optimistic for the future.
Well, that's fair. I feel like hopefully they've realized some of their mistakes and they're gonna try and like rectify that. So maybe in a couple of months' time we can go back and talk about All Elite Wrestling again, kind of
Yeah.
compare and contrast, see how well they've done in another couple of months, and see if they've been able to make some of those changes and be a more consistent product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say probably not. They're probably gonna continue to keep employing the Young Bucks. That's what I think. But we shall see. I suppose we shall see. Yeah, let us know if anybody else has like anything that they want to say about All Elite Wrestling or any opinions like that. That'd be fun to hear. But yeah, I think that's the show, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. Well, that's what we think about All Elite Wrestling so far. But we'll be back next time with another excellent episode of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense, as always. So thank you very much for listening, guys. We really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one.